Gaston Algaze leads Jetpacks in delivering strategic nearshoring solutions as an advocate for remote work leadership. Gaston believes in creating flexible and inclusive work environments that drive innovation and productivity. Beyond his role as a CEO, Gaston is also an ontology coach, guiding individuals and teams to navigate personal and professional growth with clarity and purpose. His activities he actively mentors aspiring engineers, sharing his expertise and passion for the technology and business development. Whether he's strategizing on the next big move, exploring new technologies, or coaching others, Gaston is dedicated to building a future where great talent meets great opportunities. So, time to turn over the mic to Gaston. We're glad to have you here and look forward to your presentation.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Trenton. I'm going to be sharing my screen now. We're here to talk about how we can build habits so that we build a great culture for our folks, our people. And I'm going to move this further along because Trent did a great job presenting me. Like I said, I've been friends with Utah State University Remote Online Initiative for quite some time now, and I've always enjoyed that very, very much. But we are here to talk about culture is, right? And with that in mind, I like to ask maybe the audience, what do you think culture is? When you think about culture, what are the things that come up to your mind? And don't be shy. Like I'm here to learn from you as much as you are learning from me.
It's our interactions. It's our connection with our team. I don't know. Those are just a couple things that pop into my brain.
It's our values, like our behaviors, those values embodied in actions.
Okay. I'm reading some of the posts on the chat screen, on the chat channel. Positivity versus negativity, things we do in the organization that's unique to us, habits of a community, each other, social habits. Awesome. So I've digged a little bit deeper. And by the way, I just fed this definition to ChatGPT, and that's the image it came up with, which I don't know, I liked it, so I left it there with nothing major. But the term culture originates from the Latin word cultus, meaning care, and the French collier, meaning to till. And there is something to that. And what's interesting is that in Spanish is a Latin, it has its roots in Latin, and culture has also to do with, again, what you do with your hands and cultivate and the things that you do in order for it to expect to grow healthier and up to a certain extent, the way that you'd like that to grow. And also, if you turn, and that's also in the definition, it can be perceived as a cult. So cult is also part of a culture, and that's something that it's kind of tongue in cheek. But it happened to me that I had someone coming to me in an after office party saying like, "Hey, honestly, I didn't want to join you guys at the beginning because I thought you were in a cult." And that's how strong a culture can be when you are showing it to other people. But what do you think in terms of other, like as an organizational or business sense, culture really means, and what does it bring to the table, and especially in a remote setting? So everything that you guys just said, how do you think it apply to a remote setting? Don't be shy. There are no wrong answers.
It's difficult to have organizational culture in remote locations because you might be a part of a culture that's very many states or even a nation away that's different than your own. Even within an organization, different offices have different cultures. And so when you're remote, it's even more complex. You can't have one single defined culture.
What else? And thanks, Lucy.
I think one of our experiences on our team is that, I feel like we have a really cohesive culture, and we rarely see each other in person. It's a rare occasion that our group gets together. And so the communication tools, the way that we communicate, how often we communicate, all of those things make a big difference in the cohesiveness of a team, especially if they are remote. And so I feel like our team is really cohesive. We've had a lot of learning curve, I'm sure, but I don't know. I feel like communication and just figuring out how to work together is a big part of it.
So we talk about cohesion, communication, people in the chat saying inclusion, time set aside to connect our values, a team unites around. It's crucial, Stephen says it's crucial because it's a large part of what makes people stay or leave your organization. And Mike says you have to be very intentional. You need to talk about the culture and nurture it. If you don't, since you're remote, no one will know what that is. So you're all on point, and feel free to add more into the list. And we're talking about things that will definitely resonate with everyone. We need to, stay true to the fact that it's a challenge and we need to go there. Typically, in an organization, we have, as a culture, we will have shared values and beliefs, norms and practices, an identity. People should identify to who we are, and then our culture plays a huge role into embedding those in a remote set environment because it will guide decision making, it will guide how we drive performance and how we measure performance. We talked about loyalty and retention, and then how with the things that we said. So I'm a very visual person, and I like metaphors a lot. So I was thinking about a song by Genesis that the lyrics go, don't do as I don't do as I say, just do as I do. No, don't do as I do, just do as I say, or something along those lines. Jesus, you knows me. Jesus, he knows me. That's the name of the lyric from Genesis. And basically, perception versus reality and being consistent is key. So we are going to be talking about those kind of challenges and what we can do around that. Just do as I said, don't do as I do. That's the lyrics from that song. So let's talk about communication. I think, Trenton, you pictured that as well. So this I talked about in past in past talks and when I talked about communication itself in a remote environment. But these are some of the things that can happen. You don't have a clear communication structure or communication habit or transparency, and it can lead to a lot of, I would say, misdemeanors that will turn into, true criminals if you let them grow and get big in their career. Basically, just the basic tension or who said that or where is that information. It's very easy, like trust. It's very hard to obtain, and it's very, very easy to lose. Again, especially on a remote setting. I talked about the lack of information on how we can make sure that information is there, available, and it's not obscure or behind any curtain or anything around those lines. And I'm sure you guys are thinking about anything, more things around this. Am I forgetting any? Am I forgetting something around communication that you can think of? Anything that sparks right at you and I haven't really mentioned? Okay, I'll carry on. So when it comes to or things that we do every day is that we have clear goals and expectations of what we are trying to achieve on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, on a yearly basis. And there are a lot of frameworks that you can adopt in order for that to be the case. Whether you are big or small, there are a lot of frameworks, like I said, available, or even you can create your own in order for that to be the case. And that helps us have kind of that safety line that even if things go outside, it's easy for us to reach for, a pole or something. It's like all of a sudden the subway stops very abruptly and you have to hang yourself from somewhere. This is what you can give. And in the past, I've used things like scaling up. It's a growth methodology or framework from a company named Gazelles, and there are a lot of videos available. There is a book called The Rockefeller Habits, also defines how you should communicate and such, or something called Entrepreneurial Operating System, which is also very widely known. Then you have to, whenever you're talking with people or whenever you're talking about your vision, or even if you're talking about where your goals for the week or where your expectations, be very clear in your message. In this case, less is more. And then, I'm saying the obvious, I'm stating the obvious, but sometimes we take things for granted, and that's how the kind of the snowballing effect starts. Keep everyone involved, and there are things that we can do in order to keep everyone involved, even if we're working asynchronously, which is, I would say, 90% of the cases, that's the case when we're working on a remote set environment. Because what can easily happen is that we think we're talking about the same thing because it has been posted somewhere, but not everybody was involved, and then all of a sudden we have a disconnection there. And then something that I call it, which is always keep your ears open, your schedule open, and continue to listen to your people, and then keep doing that again and again and again. And some little things that we do in our presentations is we add, for example, during those a QR code, and this is actually a QR code going to a feedback form, and you'll see it across the room, but basically we try to gather information online, real time, and then act upon it. And then two things happen. Either the information is relevant to what we are doing. It's always relevant, but it's particularly relevant to what we are doing, and we want to make the most out of that, so we act really fast. Or it kind of like hangs in there for a period of time and dies, basically. What I'm trying to say here is that either way, it fulfills its purpose, which is effectively communicating, doing something with that, because the worst you can do is get feedback and not doing anything with it, or communicating and then doing something different. But on the other side of the equation is understanding that there is a lifetime to that particular outcome, and then you have to basically act that. Things that happen to me during these exercises that I make out of a habit. Obviously, there are the things that are urgent and has the most impact. Those take priority first, and it's a very simple conversation with your team in order for that to be the case. And then you focus on that, and then you try to remove blockers from those particular things, and then moving forward, basically you keep pushing forward or even deleting the things that are not adding to that particular priority system. So things that we do in order for that to be the case, we do daily huddles. And right now there are really good tools to record them, summarize them, and send digests right after the call it has been done. You can use Zoom, you can use, Google Hangouts have it as well. I'm using a tool called Fathom.video. The reason I'm using that one is because we are multilingual. It handles pretty well, switching back and forth, for example, from Spanish to English. And it's really valuable because sometimes you have to switch during conversations, and the tool already captures that and produces everything that I've mentioned before. So that's right now very low cost, huge impact. Assume everybody would at least experiment with such a tool for your daily huddles. Then, of course, turning on the cameras, even with the most, I would say, introvert personalities, asking them what would be the best environment for them to turn on their cameras helps to at least find a spot in their calendar where we can be a little bit more intimate, a little bit more closer together by enabling that to be the case. That's a way also to build trust. We're going to be talking about that later. And again, it's not something that you can always achieve, but it really helps. And there is a direct correlation with what we're trying to achieve. And it's very important to stand out. Making sure that we know this is related to not missing anyone and making sure that the communication stays where it needs to be. Like if you're using Slack or if you're using Teams, whatever collaboration tool, it's important that everybody knows the etiquette around those things and how to use it. And sometimes it just happens. So what we did, something that really helps, again, to build that culture is to spend a bit of time understanding, okay, what are my channels? What are the channels that I would like to have on Slack? Everybody can build their own channels, but how can we do that in such a way where everybody understands what's available and what are we needing? So in that particular sense, it's good, like if you are in a large team or in a large environment, for people to take, especially at the beginning of a project, or if you're adopting a new tool, to take a little bit of time to understand how they can approach and do that the most efficient way. We did that, and then we came up with custom emojis, custom channels. We used to have a channel called "Why Am I Crying?" for example, that was really interesting. We have a random channel where we post memes and funny things. We have a Jetpacks Live when we talk about things that are across what we do in our work, in our lives. So those things really nurture. Remember about like the cultivating aspect of culture, really nurture the culture and makes it our own. And then the other two are related to having open calendar schedules, also open up from transparency and knowing what each of us are doing and how we're doing stuff. It's much easier also to set the right norm, and I'm going to be talking about from a leadership perspective later. Anything else that you can think of related to communication? Or any doubt, anything particular that you'd like to dig deeper? Okay, I'll move along. Trust. This is very important on a remote environment, and I think what we're trying to say there is that despite them not being in the same room, they've been able to build such a level of trust that even if they don't see each other for long period of times, they can have each other's back. And that feeling is the same one that I have with friends of mine who have been living abroad, whom maybe I haven't seen them in years. When we see each other, when we're together in a room, it's been like yesterday, like time hasn't really passed. So if you ever felt that, that's how it should feel with your remote teams. That's exactly how it should feel. And it's a very powerful thing that we can do around that. And I'm going to go over like 2 or 3 of these that are really important, which is if you are, for example, showing up to a meeting, or if you have a meeting plan, you need to make out of a habit that if you accepted a meeting, for that meeting to happen. The trust breaks very easily when you are not dependable in the sense that you are going to have a meeting and something happened, and then all of a sudden you cannot meet your team, or you keep pushing that. And that typically comes with power. Power in the sense of I'm the boss, or I'm the lead, and I can shift things around. So culture has to be made up or be made in such a way that it kind of heals itself when that's the case. And not in a way that we punish the person who is doing that, but basically the culture that we're trying to build should help that not to be the case, or helping them understand what's going on, that they can, meet on time or stay on time. And that comes with, being organized, planning as much as you can, not improvising things. There are things that will need to be, made on the spot. But when it comes to culture, the good thing is that you can plan almost all of that, and then things happen around that planification. And then, clean agreements, but that's pretty much on the day-to-day. It's basically making sure who's doing what, on which time frame, and what are we trying to achieve. In that particular sense, we need to interact with each other in order to build trust. And we can do that in many, many formats. You don't have to be in the same place at the right time. Actually, I have friends that we've built a community, like a very strong community for many, many years since the pandemic. I will tell you why. And we've never seen each other. Like, it's all 100%. The point of contact is an online game we play at night whenever we can. We meet in a virtual place and we just start playing, but we know about each other's families. We know what we like. We make jokes with each other. And believe me, my next focus for probably my next talk or my next focus for researching will be how we can bring that into the workplace, which is scary to a certain extent, but very powerful. Michelle has shared in the channel that Slack has been great for her company. They have a main channel, team channels, special projects, special interests, such as pets at work, nature games, comedy club, music, which are playful and a great way to get to know teammates' personalities. I love to hear fun channels that might be fun for us to adopt. Okay, I have plenty of those, including series, including one that basically it's a channel that reviews movies and films, and through the use of AI, again, we've created a theme song for that channel, a personality who posts the most. So basically, it's a couple of folks who every Thursday go to the movies. And because of that, they are turning that into a podcast. So that's the power these things have when they are being thrown live into the mix. So things that we do in order to spend time together. There is one thing that we call hearts and minds, which is we meet, but we don't talk shop at all. We talk about what's going on with the things that we love and we love to do. And things that I've learned during those meetings is there are people who collect ancient maps, like original maps from probably the colonial times here in Argentina. People who have won spelling bees and won trips. For example, there's one person who won a trip to participate in a spelling bee when they were a kid in the US from Argentina. a lot around, passions that they have that are not directly related. The good thing is that bonds, very strong bonds, are being shown, and those are the things that we lean on when things aren't going the way that we expect with our work or things that are what we do every day. Then virtual gatherings, and make sure that you send some token of appreciation. It could be like a bottle of wine or some catered lunch or some sort of like little thing that will unite us together in whatever we're doing. And typically those get done towards the end of the year or around a special occasion. But it's a very, again, low cost, high impact activity that you can do. And there are really nice platforms today that you can use that pretty much have all the activities, all the facilitation, and all the outcomes already set up for you to take advantage of. I've recently started using one called Gather Round. I will post the link later because it's kind of like Zoom, but formatted in such a way that it's inclusive and lets everybody participate for specific dynamics of participation. It's really good. And then something that it's really important, which is, and it's, if the culture is there and if you've nurtured it and you've communicated, it comes kind of naturally, but it's what I call send belonging cues. It's asking people, maybe not directly, but having conversations around why they like working where they're working, why they like the people that are working with, if they're grateful about something that happened around the week. And it's a simple question. It's something that goes a long way. Let me give you an example. For the people who's in the city, every Wednesday we go to the office and we share lunch. 2 weeks ago, someone came in and brought a bunch of keychains, 3D printed of the logo of the company. Nobody asked him to do anything. He just wanted to share that with us. And that's the result of, knowing that he liked, design and 3D printing and all of that. And he wanted to display that to the others. And I can tell you a lot of stories around those things that we're thinking about doing, in the future and things like that. And then if you can, having an all company gathering at least once a year or partially. There are companies who are doing, okay, we are going to rent or we're going to sign a deal with a co-working space in Barcelona. So whoever wants to do a vacation to Barcelona, they can do that. Or, for example, we do once a year, we try to bring everybody to a nice venue and we do activities around like why we're here, where we're going, and things along that nature. And obviously that's not strictly remote, but again, it's something that recharges the batteries of culture, or when we're not all in the same room at the same time, as we've yet to done this year. And I've been talking too much. What else can you think about in these particular settings or what we've been talking about?
My company always does some type of holiday type party. When we were small, we'd get together and meet up and do something fun. But now we've done a painting scene where we all got online. They sent art supplies to everyone, and we did that together and got to show everyone what we did during that exercise, which was a lot of fun. We do a lot of online games. So we have 2 meetings a month. One is a serious company meeting and the other one is all fun. So somebody will present on one of their passions, like 3D printing was one, or native beekeeping, or a food tour of New York City. Or they'll find a game similar to Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, if whoever remembers that game. That was a really, really fun one. And it helped because we split into teams for that and we have employees all over the world. It was fun to see what everyone's strong points were there too. So those are some ways that we've gotten to interact online in fun ways.
That's awesome. And yes, I played Where in the World is Carmen San Diego a lot. Thank you, Michelle. It's amazing what you can achieve with, again, just asking people a simple question. We talked about a little bit of recognition and appreciation. And something that we did, we're not doing it right now because we're pretty much talking to each other every day, but we used to have something called the Awesomeness Award, and the winner of that, it was a weekly prize that we would give to someone that have shown basically the beliefs or the core values of the company. And it was interesting because people would nominate for that award each other's, and then the winner of the last week would nominate would pick the winner of this award. And it was probably like a $20 Amazon gift card or something along those lines, but that person got bragging rights also. And it was a nice way because we announced it at a weekly meeting and it was really nice. But it has to be a culture that celebrates when basically your team member is doing really well, and that goes back and forth. So you're in a culture that rewards people for the amount of time they spend helping the other rather than focusing on themselves. Although focusing on yourself is also important, it's interesting to work from that perspective as well. So this is what I was talking about, like virtual celebration, monthly or quarterly awards, recognition during team meetings. A client gave me a good comment about something that we've done, or even our own people, got again praises or celebration. We would share that with the rest of the group, and it's really interesting when you share that, how the team reflects and nurtures it from that and likes it and wants more. It's really nice. Anything else that you guys are doing in order to nurture that particular aspect? Okay, I'm going to move along. The other thing that I wanted to briefly touch base is when things are going well, culture is kind of like stays there and kind of goes unnoticed. When things aren't going the right way, that's when the real culture kind of like bubbles up to the surface, and you can really see whether that's what you wanted it to be or if it's something that has been kind of like preying on the good things and waited for that to come and start being kind of a little bit of not what you would like to. And the way that we counter that act is by being open and honest all the time. And whenever, for example, we give feedback, we understand that it's not personal, that we're doing it from a safe place, and that we are doing it because we want the other, like the recipient of that feedback, to succeed, basically to be better. And if the person understands those particular set of values and the framework, it really goes well with our culture. People who haven't been true to that, typically the company itself kind of purchase that type of personality, or so it's an statement of the culture that we want to have. And it kind of self-heals, because someone who's not willing to do that will be very uncomfortable in our culture, and that's part of the culture itself. You have to be very, very intentional with what we want to do. And that comes to the last but not least topic of the conversation today, which is the role of leadership and the role they have shaping culture. And this is truly one of the best mentors I had. Why? Because he led. No, I'm joking, but you know what I'm talking about. But you always have to lead by example. And again, this comes to the lyrics of the song that I wasn't remembering, but core beliefs and values of what they're bringing to the table, because people will learn from that. I've learned at a very young age from people senior to me. And maybe we didn't do the exact same thing. Maybe they were in finance and I was in IT. But I've learned from them because of the way they act, they communicated, they stand up in meetings and they said things, etc., etc. So this is very important. And in a remote environment, that you have to do all of that through a very small window, which is your Zoom meeting. So you have to be very communicative, very comfortable with being uncomfortable in a certain way, and you can work that out. But that's what I do. I always I'm very transparent with my decisions and what I've been doing in past setups, and it's worked pretty well. The other thing, and I saw it in the chat earlier, it's creating a supportive and inclusive environment. What this means is that everybody can say anything because we know they will say it with the best of their intentions and at the right place at the right time. What I mean with that is that when this happens, it's something so powerful that once you've seen it and you experienced it, you can't really go back to anything. It's like if you ever fly first or business, please don't do that. But if you ever do that, then you've ruined your whole traveling experience forever, because there is no going back from having flown business to coach again. I'm joking, but again, imagine that feeling of being there, being in a very inclusive environment, having been able to talk about everything and anything, and knowing that even if the end result isn't or the outcome might not be the process itself is very rewarding, and I see people who can help me and I can help them. It's very, very powerful thing. So how do you create a supportive and inclusive environment? Just by doing that, making sure that everybody has a voice, that there is nobody being censored, that you have to be comfortable having uncomfortable conversations sometimes. And this does not mean, again, that you need to have a free-for-all culture and everybody. No. This is all within the constraints of the culture you want to have. Even in the most restricted environments, they have that. Like, they do have that. Then again, you have to make it your own and all of that. But I can talk about that like forever if you let me. And then the other thing is, like, always encourage your people to think about why we're doing that. It has to be super clear, right? Why are you at your job? But thinking about the future, sometimes it's not as easy because future is uncertain, especially today with everything that's going on. Everything in the world is crazy today. So you have to encourage them to, think about in terms of how we can, do this better. How can we have a growth mindset is something that is very unique and you have to work it out, and it's like a muscle. You have to flex it and continue to grow. But for leadership, it's super important because we influence directly the result of our teams. So having an open mind, fostering activities around this will slowly but certainly move us in the direction that we want to do. Again, this is very important today also with how we adopt AI tools. What's our point of view? Are we all in, or we are, cautiously like researching or investigating? How will change our status quo? Like all of that stuff, we need to ask ourselves and then apply to our business. And again, doing it remotely, it takes time. You have to plan the communication. You have to make sure that everybody understands it. You have to make sure that everybody chips in and contribute. So there is a lot to unpack there. Anything else that comes to mind that from a leadership perspective, you make sure that you nurture from a cultural standpoint?
I always just like the encouraging growth and mindset innovation, or mindset, just the openness to be able to share ideas and say, hey, this doesn't seem to be working. How can we fix that? I'm a brainstormer and an innovator, and I love that part of our team. Our correlation meeting often is that's what we do, is we often brainstorm solutions to things, and I think that's been a fun experience for us.
Nice. Eric says, emphasizing progress over perfection, growth mindset. That's totally true. Otherwise, you can get analysis paralysis, which is, I don't know where, like, there are so many choices, I don't know where to go. So always move forward, even if it's by an inch. So I just wanted to close a little bit of the loop of what we've been talking about, how we deal with this, how we deal with culture at Jetpacks. Jetpacks, we have 3 core beliefs. And believe me, you've never seen this anywhere else. We're a technology company, right? But we believe in synchronicity. So that's our first thing. Why synchronicity comes from, or I've learned it in a book called The Way of the Artist. It's from the 80s. It's a very nice book. I recommend you guys read it. But basically what synchronicity means is that as we are drivers of change, the universe changes around you, promoting that very change that we're trying to drive. So it's kind of like a virtuous cycle, sorry. So when you are part of us, you will drive that change every time with ourselves, with our clients. You have to make sure that you won't be carried over, or you won't be, sitting in a chair, or what I used to work at Accenture, and I've learned a lot at Accenture. But at Accenture, you could ride the escalator, I call it. You would just sit there, like stand up there, and the escalator would take you up with relatively low effort. We don't want that. We want people to, use the regular staircase, basically. And basically be contagious, for that to be contagious to our partners and clients and people who work with us. The other one is we're like the sun. Why? Because we're warm, we have energy. Even if we're not in the room, we're there. Like all of that good stuff that comes with it. And again, it shows up in our personalities, in the work that we do, in the way that we communicate with each other. All of that good stuff. And then this is the one that I like the most, which is we craft new Rosetta Stones. The Rosetta Stone, probably if you don't know, it's a stone that was discovered by Champollion, which was an Egyptologist, a French Egyptologist. And because of that discovery, ancient secrets of the past could be unveiled, because it was the same message translated in 3 ancient languages. And in that way, hieroglyphs were able to decode and all of that. So what we say we do is that, because we work in Latin America and we understand really well the US culture itself, together, the US and Latin America, we're crafting new, Rosetta Stones together to co-create a new culture together, whether it's in technology or it's in, product or quality, whatever the case would be, we work together and we bring that to the table. So I know I didn't talk about it that much, but if you spend a day with us, this is what you would expect from the people that works with us and do what we do. And this kind of embodies everything that we like doing. So that's why I wanted to kind of end with a note on this particular thing. And I would like to kind of answer or end this with a question like, how are you building your culture today? Like, and what are the things that, if there is a key takeaway that you've taken from this call today, what that would look like? Nothing. It can be nothing.
No, it's not really a key takeaway. It's a theme of the call today is to reinforce some of the things that we've tried to do to build the culture on the remote team. But specifically, one idea that I'm taking as an action is that where in the rural, I'm going to rename it where in the remote and have our remote employees across the nation send photos and see if we can guess where that is, right? So I think that's a really fun way. And I stole the idea. So that's one of my takeaways.
Really nice.
I think it was mentioned in the chat, but this summer we've been as people on our team do vacations, we have what we call remote recess on Friday, where we play. The idea was stemmed from, what tools when all of the remote tools were being invented and stuff. It was a time for us to be able to just play with certain things. Now that that's kind of slowed down, Dom put out the idea that maybe we just share our vacation pictures. So whenever one of us goes on a vacation or something like that, we'll get together on Friday afternoon and share our vacation pictures and talk about them and stuff like that. So I think that's been a good one for our team.
Awesome. Thank you so much.